Nier is such a strange game series to me. Nier Automata set the world on fire and was a huge success when it came out in 2017. This is with practically no one having played the previous game in the series, or the game series that led into Nier for that matter. When I played through Automata, I thought it was a pretty good game, but not something that I thought deserved quite as much praise as it was getting. So when they announced Nier Replicant, a remake of the original Nier, I was interested to see if this game would spark more interest for the series in me, and well, I think it did. Nier Replicant takes place in a world that is near death. There are very few humans left in the world, and the ones that are left must survive an onslaught of attacks from these creatures called Shades. You play as a boy named Nier, or I guess really anything that you name him, since you have to name him yourself. I named my character Nier after playing for a couple hours with a character that I named Kaine, since when I looked up online what his canonical name was, it for some reason gave me Kaine's name, and me being a big dumb idiot, I didn't look that far into it, only realizing my mistake when I ran into Kaine in the game. Don't judge me. I can hear you judging me. Anyways, you play as Nier, a little boy who is obsessed with protecting his little sister, who's sick with some disease from all the horrors of this world. The gameplay of Nier is probably its strongest trait. I freaking love the combat of this game. It feels super fluid, just darting around enemies and sending magic missiles their way, and then following that up with a flurry of stylish sword slashes. It did start to feel a bit old towards the middle of the game, but then they let you gain access to 2 other classes of weapons, which each have their own unique movesets and feel. This kept the game feeling fresh the entire time I was playing it. You also gain access to a ton of different magical abilities, but the one I liked the most was the Magic Lance. This would send a giant red lance straight through your enemies, and if you charged it up, it would send several giant red lances through your enemies. It was pretty great. My second favorite was this ability that let you punch things real good. That was pretty cool too. Aside from combat though, there really isn't much else going on in the game. There are a couple platforming sections, I guess, if you can even call them that. But overall, I don't really see the lack of variety in the type of gameplay to be a bad thing. The combat in this game holds its own as being enough to carry this game, and I'm all about stylish combat, and this game has it in abundance. Now let's talk about the visuals in Nier. This section is kinda where this game hits a snag for me. A really big snag, actually. The visuals of this remake of Nier are pretty solid. The lighting is okay, the character models look pretty good, and the particle effects are here in droves. The problem comes when you find out that the PC version of the game, if you let it run over 60 frames per second, which since the game isn't very hard to run, it does quite often, the game will run at double its speed. So when I booted up the game and saw how fast Nier was running, I had to back out and manually cap the frame rate to 60, since there is no way to do this in-game. But once this was done, the game should have ran fine, right? Well, yes and no. I was able to fix the double speed problem pretty easily, but then a new problem would come up where at certain points, the game would just have random slowdowns. It would be running fine, capped at 60 FPS, and then out of nowhere, the same scene that I was just looking at a second ago would now be running in slow motion. This was a consistent problem, and it started to get worse towards the end of the game. It would really put a hamper on the fantastic gameplay and made me nearly quit playing the game entirely. There haven't been any patches to fix this yet either, and the game has been out for quite a while, and this is a known problem. So please, get this fixed. It's tiring to have these great games marred by stupid technical issues. Woo! Well, now that I have that out of my system, let's get on to talking about the sound design. In one word, it's fantastic. The music is great, which came as no surprise to me, since they have Kiichi Okabe working on it, the same guy that did the music for Automata, which, as we all know, was the real reason that people played the game and not the obvious assets of 2B. There are a ton of great songs in this game, but I don't think it quite reaches the level that Automata hit, but it comes pretty dang close. The voice acting is also really good in this game. It can sound a bit corny at times, and you really get that dubbed anime feel a couple times, but overall the actors did a great job portraying the emotions of each character really well. This section is an easy win for this game. Now, finally, let's move on to talking about the story of Nier Replicant. This is kind of a hard section to talk about because I think I like the story, but I'm also left very confused by it, which isn't really that different from how I felt after having played Automata. The way that the story is told can be a bit disjointed feeling, and I guess that's probably what they were going for to some extent, but you do get some reveals at the end that kind of tie all these loose ends that you've been wondering about the whole game together. But it ties them together in kind of a knot. So you won't be getting any nice bow tie endings to this game, even though there are 5 total endings, and even after all that, I'm still left a little lost. But overall, the story did keep me going. They left you enough breadcrumbs of mystery that you just felt like you had to keep going to find out more. This, along with the fantastic gameplay, made the story serviceable. I would say that it's a couple steps below Automata on overall storytelling, but still good in its own right. So, this review was kind of a weird one for me. I liked a lot about this game, but I had to play it in spurts and couldn't just sit for hours on hours playing it, which I think is in part due to the technical issues that it had. I think if they fixed the multitude of issues on the PC version of the game, I would be able to rate it higher, but with it in its current state, I think I would give this game an 8 out of 10. The gameplay really holds this game up, along with the sound design. If they can get the glitches smoothed out, I could easily see this being a 9 out of 10, but until then, I can't give it above an 8. It's a fantastic game and definitely deserves to be played by all action RPG lovers out there.